Growing up on like 2000s comedies and later, almost none rise to this level just in terms of quality and being consistently funny. And also, so many of them don't seem to know what's funny. Like a lot of the humor that I grew up with was just either laughing at people or just being silly or stupid. And the 2010s was kind of like the era of the stoner humor, which was just people being stupid again.
I love comedy movies. We're in very short supply of very good ones.
The Naked Gun is along this line as well, which is also made by Zucker and Abrams and starring Leslie Nielsen, and they're making a remake of that this year. I'm really curious how they're gonna do it. I think it's just like people always talk about like what's even funny these days and can you even make comedy. And my take on it is that you can still make comedies, and there's plenty of comedies. But on balance, a lot of people have forgotten what comedy is. Because I think a lot of people have concluded that comedy is just laughing at people, and you're not supposed to do that anymore, and so we can't make comedies. But in terms of what's actually funny, and like things like the juxtaposition and the pun and the the absurd exaggeration and whatever, like all of these things that are like there's a toolbox of comedy, and Airplane just takes from the entire shelf, right? There's so many ways of being funny that don't involve laughing at people, but people don't seem to agree anymore.
And a lot of it is at the moment is just quippy lines in movies where everyone seems to be the same person making the same jokes all the time. It's kind of like the Ryan Reynolds effect and the MCU effect, where sort of kind of like everyone wants to be like the main character in whatever like is all the same, and they have like the same jokes and stuff like that. And it's just, I think a little bit played out, and there's room for different ways to do comedy. There's a whole toolbox. There's a whole like sort of different techniques, different styles that can be used that are just a little bit underutilized just because they've seen that one method worked extremely well for a period of time.
Yeah. But it seems to be a general crisis of comedy, right? Like in the 2000s, I used to be really into stand-up comedy. And every couple of years, I kind of drifted away from it. And every couple of years, I kind of dip my toes into it. And it's so unfunny. Maybe I'm just looking at the wrong thing, but it's just purely validating people's opinions. That's comedy. Like, that's all of it. Like there's very little the kinds of jokes that this makes that is kind of divorced from anything like real world, really. It's more universal than that. And I don't know, maybe I'm just looking up the wrong comedians or something, but that seems to be the entire thing now. And that is just the death of comedy, I think. Like, that is just not even funny. I don't know. I'm just really curious how they can make a Naked Gun movie. Number one, just a straight up comedy in 2025. And number two, something that follows on from something so iconic as these Leslie Nielsen comedies from the 80s. Because like those are like the gold standard for a lot of people, including myself. I'm just, number one, they're benefiting from the name recognition, but they're also layering a lot of expectations on themselves, right? It's not just a comedy, it's a Naked Gun movie. So I'm really curious, like, if they can actually execute that style of humor, if there's actually an audience for it. Like, there seems to be, considering how popular Airplane and these other movies are. But does that translate into general movie-going audiences? I guess we'll find out later this year.